This is the 18th season of Bass Talk Live. With your host, Matt Pangrath. BTL is brought to you by Lorraine, Bass Cat Boats, AFCO, Strike King Lures, Sunline, Big Bite Baits, Spro, X-Zone Lures, Gamakatsu, The Bass Tank, Denali Rods, and Pro Guide Batteries.
PTL, coming at you!
Good morning and welcome to another exciting edition of Bass Talk Live, where we are going to talk about bass fishing. It is a Friday edition of BTL, mainly because April's probably about the busiest month I think I've ever had in my life, fishing-related wise, between getting all the BTLs out and fishing 3 Bassmaster Opens. It's also the end of the first quarter, and I'm doing all sorts of wonderful, exciting business things, and realizing that the new house I moved into, you know, like 75-degree weather, it's 2 acres. I don't have a lawnmower. So I got to figure out how to mow the lawn. So anyway, we're recording this on a Thursday afternoon. It's airing on a Friday morning, and I have none other than the man, Bradley Hallman, at home in his studio, and we're going to break down the Cherokee Lake Open. Brad, are you a little bit more ready to roll for the next 3 weeks of April, or are you in the same boat as me?
It's been very, very hectic, to say the least.
What we've got going on is we had a Florida tournament in the Open where Brad and I finished pretty much right around each other too. I was 49th, you were 54th or something like that. Mm-hmm. And then we had about a month off. We did the Classic. I did Red Crest, and we went to Cherokee for the last Open. Then we had 5 days off. You left your truck somewhere, flew home for 5 days. I drove home from Cherokee. So then I leave Friday morning. Well, when this airs is when I'll be drive 2 days to the James River, then drive home on Sunday, do another week of BTLs, record another week of BTLs, then go to Mississippi, fish the first Central Open on Mississippi. Then I go straight from there to Minnesota. And in between there, I'll film another week of BTLs. But one of the things that we did last time that got really good reception, I really liked, and I said we are keeping this going, is we kind of analyzed each other's game film from Florida. I enjoyed the heck out of it. Do you remember we sat down? It was like a 2-hour show.
Yeah. It was, it's good to get feedback from somebody else, you know, as you're looking at something. The problem with my video that you're going to see that I you know, the last one, I think I took a couple of days worth of videos, and we're just so crunched in time. I had to cram one day in there just to get some stuff edited out for you, but not much changed anyway. You know, the weather changed quite drastically on day 2, and the wind quit blowing, which made it more difficult for the entire field. The weights dropped considerably. But yeah, let's get to it. I wonder what you're going to say.
Well, no, we got a couple things before we actually get to it, and I actually took a peek at your video, and I literally said, you have to be kidding me on one of your deals, because it turns out on day 1, by the time I ran my down lake stuff, you had literally already caught the fish off of the exact rocks and stretches that I fished. Mm-hmm. I turned to my co-angler and said, how did I fish those 5 stretches and not get bit? Well, 2 of them, you're like, oh, there's a good one. Mm-hmm. And it's just real interesting how they were the same stretches, and we didn't know where each other was fishing on that. But a couple of housekeeping items before we get going. Dude, we are almost up to $1,000 in donations to St. Jude. I mentioned I was going up to Minnesota, and I'm mentioning this every show until the 15th, which is when is the last day you can order. But I'm fishing the Dick Hiley St. Jude Bass Classic, the 24th year of that. They have raised over $5 million for St. Jude cancer research. And it's a really great event, one of the biggest team tournaments up in Minnesota. In order to raise money for that, me and my team partner, Adam Bartuzek, came out with a BTL St. Jude shirt. You can go to basszone.com, click on the St. Jude fundraiser tab, and for $20, 100% of the profits go to St. Jude. You can also just donate there if you want to. So almost up to $1,000 that went live this week. Our goal is to get to 5,000, and we are well on our way thanks to the BTL family. So jump on, get your $20 shirt, support St. Jude. Greatly appreciated. I had something else. I have absolutely no idea what it was. I guess we're just so excited to get to this Cherokee Lake breakdown. But let's put a bow on it first. We had Coop Gallant on the show earlier this week, talked about how he got the job done. And before we get into our footage, you kind of have an idea of how he won. Demiki rigging with a X-Zone plastic out deep, pulling the fish off the bottom that they couldn't see on live scope. And he caught 36 pounds, 1 ounces over 2 days in a weather-shortened Bassmaster Open, 18 a day, and said he caught 30 fish the first day, and his co-angler stopped counting at 29 at 9 a.m. on the second day. Thoughts when you heard of how he got the job done? Also, you kind of know what Brian New did. He did something a little bit that was near and dear to your heart to finish second. And then Jamie Bruce from Canada actually makes these or sells the Smeltinator head that Coop Gallant and him use, and he did the exact same thing as Coop, and Demiki rigged fish that were invisible to the forward-facing sonar guys and was able to pull them up off the bottom.
Yeah, the thing that I wanted to know that I asked you was did they have like really good practice days? And you said that they did. Like you heard that they.
Yeah, Cooper said in his interview, I said, "Did you know you were going to catch him?" And he was like, "Yeah, I kind of did."
Yeah, that part of it like surprises me. I spent some time out there, didn't you? I spent some time out there.
Yeah, that's where I started. That's what I planned on doing. That's what I wanted to do. I love a spinning rod. I love finesse fishing. Both you and I have spent a ton of time with the with that big bite bait swimmer head and the little 4-inch jerk shad on Table Rock every year for the last 2 or 3 years, catching them out deep using both 2D and forward facing sonar. So it was a technique that I felt really confident in.
The pond dams are a big deal there. The old pond dams that are up underneath the lake, that were ponds before the reservoir was backed up. And they're actually marked on a lot of maps. It's not like it's hard to find some of them.
Yeah, I fished like 3 of them.
Yeah. And, they all kind of ride in that 25 to 30-foot depth range. Some of them are shallower because the lake was so low when we got there. But, dude, I didn't see it. Like I saw a lot of fish there, but I didn't see what those guys were seeing. Obviously, there was a lot there for them to catch that many keepers. Practice was pretty much a grind for me. The other thing that I kind of thought is that, it was the beginning of April when we were there, and I couldn't help but just keep betting on the come that, the majority of the fish you would think would make that shallow push. Now, shallow being 10 foot on this lake, right? Anything less than 10 foot is shallow. And you would think that would be the play, but some of the fish that I caught, even on the first day, that I've got some video here that I sent you, those fish came from 20 to 22, somewhere in there, 20 to 22 on top of that hump. So I did try some deep stuff even in the tournament. Now it wasn't a big boulder spot where fish could hide. It was more of a rough spot in a flat area, and I could see those fish on live scope actually.
Practice was really rough. We were all rooming together. If you're ever going to Cherokee and need a VRBO, the place we stayed was like the best place I think that both me, you, and Andrew agreed that we'd like ever stayed at. It was phenomenal. It was like a mile from a boat ramp, kind of down lake, incredibly easy to get into. You had like a barn that we could back all of our boats into. Really nice house, a lot of elk, pool table, great living room. Loft. It was good stuff. But the thing was, both me, you, Andrew, and Billy Messer, Billy got a bass. I don't think any of us had like what I would call a good day of practice. Like you guys had 15 pounds 1 or 2 of the days. I know Billy had a good day. I had on Tuesday, I think I had like a dozen bites between me and my co-angler on a little swim bait and a crankbait, but like nothing where we came back and we're like, dude, we got it dialed in.
Yeah, and anytime that you go and you practice as hard as we were hitting it, you don't have to talk to very many guys to realize that you're not the only one. Because we were really changing it up and fishing a lot of different stuff. Each one of us would kind of have a glimmer of hope, right? A day of practice that was okay. I had one, you had one. But then you would go back out the next day and think you were going to build and expand on that. And then the reality would smack you back in the face of how tough it was. This was a strange event in the fact that you don't see many like this where the fishing was subpar.
It was tough. It was tough in practice for me.
To the first day of the tournament, when you get to weigh in, it's obvious. You know, I caught a lot of fish that first day of the tournament. A lot of people did. It was, you don't see that a lot where that light switch just clicks like that in that short time frame.
You know, we had an off day, and going into the tournament, I remember you saying, "Hey man, it's going to take 15 a day to cash a check." You're like, no way. And then we practice, and then and especially even during the off day, I remember you saying, "Okay, yeah, I think we all agreed that like 13 a day would probably cash a check." 26, yeah, and I was like, that might even be a little bit high. And just to fast forward a little bit, and we'll get to some of the video here, but you know, on day one, it was insane. 96 anglers had at least 13 pounds. 96, 100. The top 100 was 13 pounds. The top 70 was 14 pounds, and at least 48 anglers had a 15-pound limit. Yeah. That is by far, in all the tournaments that I have covered or fished in, the worst that I have ever been off as far as estimating what it would take to do well in this event.
Well, kind of the general rule, you know, traveling the tours and stuff through the years has always been, you know, if they live there, what lives there is what's going to get caught. So it doesn't really matter based off of how everybody's practice is. Like, what lives there is usually what gets caught. And that's exactly what happened in this tournament. Now, I'm not talking about like in the fall and September and stuff like that. That's not the reality. But in the springtime, it happens a lot. And I was beginning to wonder in practice if they were there. Like, you know, I'd been there a few times before, and I was like, has something happened to these fish that they're not here? I mean, it was really starting to cross my mind, but obviously they are there.
They are, and the weights dropped just a little bit on the second day. Brian New was leading with 19.3, came in with 16.1 to finish second, and then Coop went 17.8 and then 18.9. So it ended up taking 36.1 to win, which is right at 18 pounds a day. Literally 18 pounds a day to get the job done, which is insane that there was not any like big bags as far as, you know, like a 21, 22, 23 pound bag in it. And it's incredible to show the consistency and how many 3 to 3.5 pound fish live in Cherokee to see, you know, 36.1 is what it took to win the 2-day event. The entire field fished 2 days, so there's no cut there. We all fished the same amount of time. It took 32.13 to finish in the top 10. So really, 3 pounds separated the top 10, which is ridiculously close. And then, you know, from 32.13 to cash a check was 29.2. So there was 3 pounds separating first from 10th, and then 3 pounds separating 10th from 40th. And then it's just ounces. You ended up finishing the event in who got the out of our entire house? I think Andrew went 13, 12, 13, 15, 27, 11 for 53rd. You finished 58th. You went 14, 13. It got a little bit tougher on you on day 2 with 12.6. You had 27.3, and then I finished in 69th place. I had 14.5 on day 1, and I committed the cardinal sin, Bradley. I weighed 4 fish in on day 2, which was kind of embarrassing for 11.9. And you'll see in some of this footage that we have, like, I had 3 big uns, like, pretty early, and I went 6 hours without a bite, and I have no idea what happened. I ran into Andrew. Andrew's like, dude, I've culled 10 times. I watched guys culling. I was around other guys that culled. I talked to guys after. He said, yeah, you know, I caught 30, 40 fish. It was pretty easy. I talked to you. I mean, you were catching numbers of keepers. I caught 7 keepers the first day, 4 keepers the second day. I had, you know, every single thing that bit I caught. I just never figured this lake out.
Yeah, I caught a lot of fish. You know, like the first day of the tournament, I know I caught north of 20 fish, probably 15 or more keepers. And then day 2, I only probably caught 9 or 10. It wasn't as many, but it it was surprising the weight was just so good. You know, you were talking about how close they are together for a southern impoundment. You know, usually we're not stacked in there that tight. That looks like a northern fishery. But the one thing it's got in common is that's a smallmouth issue, right? So, you know, when you're culling, you're just culling by ounces usually. And then, you know, like on the first day, I had close to 15, and it did. I think my biggest fish was like a 3 1/4. It was just a matter of just each fish, you know, you balance beam and balance beam and balance beam and balance beam. And then at the end of the day, that's kind of what you got. It's hard for me to even judge the size on them. Like when I hook them, I can't tell if I've got a big one or if I don't. You know, they get by the boat, I grab them, I still can't tell. Like I have to pull fish out of the live well. It's just hard for me to judge those things. And that's a fun place to go. I've fished 3 or 4 tournaments on Cherokee through the years, and it's better now than it probably ever has been. You know, it was good a couple of years ago too, but the first time I went, it wasn't the smallmouth fishery that it is now. That was back in like 2008 or 9. And the largemouth were really kind of the dominant tournament species. They had smallmouth in it, but there was something too with Tennessee used to have a law with an 18-inch limit, and you could only have.
I think it is part, but it's later in the year.
Okay.
I think even on Cherokee it goes to 18, but it's later in the year. What was your mixed bag? Did you have all smallies or a couple largemouth in there?
I'm sure I weighed in a couple of largemouth. First day, I think I had gotten to where I had all smallmouth because I know that I caught some smallmouth that I actually culled out largemouth with at the end of the day. I think the second day I definitely weighed in probably a couple of largemouth. I mean, they're mixed in. It's not like I'm fishing any different. They're in the same kind of places. You would just catch a largemouth.
See, that was weird. I never caught a largemouth in the tournament.
Really?
Yeah. I didn't catch that many fish in the tournament, unfortunately, but I never caught a largemouth.
I just never generated a big bite, dude. Like I threw spinner bait, I threw the swim bait. I threw
and I did. I mean, I generated 3 on the second day, but I didn't have anything to go with it. I caught a 15-incher with like half an hour left. You ready to get to some of your footage from Cherokee, and then we'll break it down. This first clip is this first clip made me shake my head very slowly. It said, "You have to be kidding me." So we'll get to the first clip. Walk us through what's going on here.
This is the very start of the morning, and this is the second or third place I bumped. This was something I did in the tournament. I never practiced over here, but we had different wind direction first morning in the tournament, and then I had when I did down lake. So I basically just went out on the windy side of the lake and fished.
You're just throwing a little swim bait.
Yeah.
That's a nice chesty view.
Yeah. Need to work on that a little bit, I think.
You have 3 different camera angles?
I have a couple.
Got one, finally. Good one, too.
You got some bites there, right?
We'll see.
Red, the first one.
Nice. So there's your first fish.
Yep.
And so I fished that on Tuesday in practice. You know where I said I had a lot of the crankbait bites?
Yep.
That was one of the stretches that I had a bite on. That was also, when my co-angler that was practicing with me caught the 8-pound carp on a Ned.
Yeah.
That was that stretch as well.
And I actually caught 3 or 4 keepers out there that morning. Now
out of that cove?
Yes.
Oh, gosh.
That side and the other side, going back at Swim Lake.
Yep. Well, I had a bite on the other side too. And what? So I started on the dam in that area. I got over there probably around like 9:15 or 10. I'm assuming you'd already been through there by then.
Probably, yeah.
And it was a completely different watercolor than it had been in practice. That had been very clear, some of the clearest water on the lake. It had not warmed at all during the off day with 78, 9, almost 80-degree weather, and then we had the off day with the wind, and it got muddy and actually got a little bit colder than the first time I had been through there. So when I went over there, I made one buzz pass through it and went, doesn't look right, and bounced. So when I saw you with your first fish literally on the exact rock, and had a bite on a swim bait too, I went through there with a plug and told my co-angler, this is a waste of time. It got blown out overnight. The water's dirtier and it's actually colder than it was in practice. And I mean, you can tell this was a blue watercolor in practice, you know, clear. And it's not, you can tell when you get to the chesty, that's not very clear right there. Like there's some color in it. But if you go back to it right there, that rock coming out, there's more rock actually behind it on a little point. And then on the other side, all this rock.
I can't see it.
Yeah, I should probably share the screen again. That would help.
It was stained in there. The wind was blowing in there that morning. Can you hear that or not?
No, you're good.
Okay. It was definitely stained. The wind blowing. Those fish were firing. I had a couple of bites. I just didn't hook up on.
Let me guess. You probably got bit right there because I did in practice.
Absolutely.
And you probably got bit right there.
Didn't get bit there.
And
then
caught
two off of the other one that you
off of that.
Yep.
Nope. I fished all that stuff, so you nailed that one. That was interesting. What made you stick with the swim bait there and not go to a crankbait? Because I mean, it's windy, it's off colored. You're trying to cover water. You don't know that there's fish there. You're covering it. You knew that a lot of guys had gotten bit on crankbaits. I mean, to me, that would be like prime crankbait stuff. I actually put the little swim bait down and picked up a crankbait in that stretch when I went through it.
It was just what I most confident in practice. I felt like I got around fish with that swim bait that they needed. And historically, years past, I've been there. They've eaten it. Dude, I love that little head. Big bite.
It's a big bite swimmer head. Is it a 3-aught or a 3-aught or a 2-aught? Little like thin wire Gamakatsu in it.
Correct.
And
I'm guessing it's a 3.
Yeah. So if I'm throwing the anything over a 3.3, it has 2 little wire keepers on it.
Mm-hmm.
We're talking about that head right there. It has 2 little wire keepers on it. If I'm throwing a pro swimmer or the little bitty one, it's actually designed around like the Mike McClellan swim bait, the little 3.5 and 4-inch one that comes in the bubble pack. But if you're just using like the pro swimmer, I take the bottom keeper and cut it off with a pair of pliers. That way it doesn't rip the nose, but anything else it stays on, and that baits will not come off of that head. Like that's about the farthest I've ever seen a bait come off of that head, unless you were throwing it like that.
No, just from that fish bite. I have a lot of success with it. I don't rip a lot of baits. It's you know, sometimes I can make 3 or 4 bites.
All right, so that was your 1.
2.5 pounder.
So now we go to the next one. This is a dogfish.
I put that in there because like, I hate ding dogs. And then I did it caught on the next cast.
Does your co-angler have a stogie?
I don't think so.
Are you sure? Look.
Well. He may have.
You didn't notice that?
Oh, Lord, no. I'm locked in what I'm doing.
That's a stogie.
I never smelled it. No, it's not.
Is it beef jerky?
Terrible.
Yeah. He's eating something.
No, that's a stogie.
Did you catch him down the stretch at all?
I don't know where this
Caught a
is.
beacon underneath that thing the other day. But I don't think that's him.
We caught like 5 of them. I both caught them.
I don't think. I don't know. It's pulling like he's big. He's not.
All right. I never caught a fish off a dock all week.
I had maybe 2 or 3 bites. I did catch a really good fish off that one. Like 3 1/4. But I ran a bunch of docks, and I never could get them to work. The marina stuff. Some docks going up the river. I had stuff on practice, but never went up there to tournament.
I think that a couple of the guys caught them off docks.
I'm sure they did.
But
I was told that some guys that had done really well with me spent a lot of time on that big marina at the German Creek.
Yeah.
I don't know how.
I
went to it twice in practice. Spent quite a bit of time. And dude, underneath that thing was just dead sea.
What's with the so you know me, spinning rod. We'll go there again here. So we were basically throwing the same little 3-inch swim bait for most of the tournament. I never even crossed my mind to put it on a bait caster. Both you and Andrew and a couple of them, and pretty much everyone else I saw was throwing it on a bait caster. Any advantages to that? Differences? Like why? I mean, to me it seemed like really hard to throw that thing on a bait caster where I could just put it wherever I wanted to on the spinning rod. Is that just a comfortable confidence deal, or is there any benefit to throwing it on a bait caster over spinning?
The only benefit I could see was spinning is like they wanted it really slow, and that reel's got a lot slower gear ratio. I mean, I was reeling 7-1, so I just had to crawl it. But I like keeping that high gear ratio in my hand, and I just feel better with a bait caster.
So that's just a personal preference.
I think so.
Okay.
I had it on 12-pound test.
12-pound test. So you were throwing it on pretty heavy. I was throwing mine on 9-pound shooter with a braid backing, 12-pound SX1 in the dark green. But I would put I'd put about 10 yards or probably about 10 yards of fluorocarbon before the braid started. So it was actually down in the reel. I still tied the uni to uni. I've never had any issues with it. You were going just straight 12-pound fluoro. What were you throwing at? Just like a 7-foot, like a jerkbait rod, or?
No, it was actually my 610 jig rod. So it's got a pretty soft tip, and it stiffens up. But I mean, it's never thrown on a jig on 10 to 15 test line. So.
All right, let's go to the next clip here. Did that seem to be the type of rock that you did most of your damage on?
I'll tell you what I ended up thinking by the end of the day too. There's a lot of that red clay rock.
Mm-hmm.
And historically in the past, it's been the deal. For me, it was gray. Wherever the gray rock was. And this is really kind of the most red stuff that caught on. The gray rock.
The slate.
Yeah.
Oh, you actually had that happen.
I had that happen three times.
I had another one get it off a rock.
Really?
Swear to God, what's your rod there? I'm gonna need to get in there. I think that one will help. That's the same thing on a rock.
Man, and he ate it too.
Yeah.
Look at this. This is cool. So I knew this was a thing here. They said you want to get your stuff hung up. Andrew might have mentioned it. You mentioned it. Everyone. And like, hey, it comes off the rock. They sit down there and they wait on it. Watch this. Hung, line trick, fish on.
Yep.
I
That's cool.
had another one get it off a rock.
I actually lost my biggest bite of the day that way. She picked it up off a rock. Dude, she was just screaming drag. And I couldn't. I don't know.
Did it break you or just come off?
No, she was loose. And then she jumped after she had already come loose from it.
How big was it?
I don't know. I can't tell size. It pulled harder than any fish that I hooked that week.
Huh.
That wasn't a hybrid or striper.
Now it gets different when I saw this. This is totally different.
Yeah, I'm going to throw this in there just for the show. So this was the end of day one. And this is when I really started figuring out fishing is good for everybody. It's not that I just made all these great decisions. This is a flat a place that I found a few years ago. Hadn't been to it all, and it's about 20 feet deep. It's got a couple rough spots on, and I'm just throwing that swim bait out there, letting it go all the way to the bottom, and then just crawl on it.
Really tell. I'd really like to have my Ned rig right now, and I don't.
You see
I don't want to take time to rig it up, so. It was a good call. It worked. It's a big one too. Gotta be a big one. It's pulling like a big one. Nope. These suckers went to biting today, didn't they? Come here. Nah. It's pretty good.
That was a sick bite.
It was.
It was a good call.
Watch.
That was the same thing. On a rock. On a rock.
The next bite's even
I'd really
better.
like to have my Ned rig right
But
now.
watch
and
it
I
right
don't.
here. You'll see it actually
I
hit it.
don't want to take time to rig it up, so.
You slow down, you're over it, and right there. See that?
It was a good call.
Don't.
It worked.
That's cool. Did you catch anything not on the swimmer on day one?
Yeah, I caught him on spinner bait too.
Okay.
I wish I shot him on spinner bait more. I just when it was over, I think maybe I'd got a better bite.
I got you. All right, we'll go to the. Boy, they did have it though. I did notice that too. I had, like I said, I did not lose a single fish all tournament. But like, see how that fish is hooked? Yeah. Were yours all hooked good except for that one that came off?
Yeah, most of them. Wait till this next one, dude. It was weird. I mean, it was like
Same spot.
it disappeared.
I think that one might be a big one.
Ooh.
Is it looking bigger?
Oh, you spit up a shad?
Yeah.
I bet he's got it deep. I never felt him bite. Thing just went slack. Look how deep he's got it.
Yeah. That's good.
That was good stuff. So that was pretty much what went down for you on.
Yeah, it was just frustrating for me that I never caught a 4-pounder. One 4-pounder and maybe another couple of 3 1/4 or 3 1/2 makes a big difference in my day. And as many fish as I caught, dude, it was just like I say, it was frustrating.
I got you. So now we'll go to mine, and it's just weird how we ended up in the same way and got there drastically different ways. I struggled all of practice. I think I had, like I said, I had like 1 bite the first day, 2 the second, had like 5 or 6 the third, and then 3 the final day. Mm-hmm. And I went down the whole dam one time and got 2 bites. I said, well, it's the only place I got 2 bites on. We'll just start there. And I had a decent boat draw. And I started, and I wanted to fish that corner going down this wall. And there's a guy there. And this is an interesting part because this was crucial to my day one. I was very pessimistic about being able to catch a limit. Obviously, I was not, vocalizing that to you guys, but I was like, man, I don't know how I'm going to survive this tournament because I knew they were in there. I just never figured anything out. I thought maybe, if everything went as planned, I could catch some cranking, maybe 1 or 2 on a Ned rig and survive. But I didn't think I could sit here and catch him. And this guy was like power pulled down in the corner of the dam. He'd been there for half an hour, and that was like where I'd gotten my bites. So I was like kind of out of luck. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So I asked him, I said, hey man, like, what's your plan? You going to stay here? You going to go down? I didn't know what to do. And I didn't push him at all. Once he said, yeah, I'm here, I was going to go down the wall. I said, all right. And I moved. So this was me. You going down the wall or you pulled down? Like, I knew he was pulled down. I was just pointing out, like, hey, your power poles are down and have been down for 20 minutes. Like, I'm going around you, right?
Yes.
But then he informed me that he was about to lift him. You know, that's like over, 2 football fields long?
Yeah.
You can't even see this guy in the corner. Would you have gone around him? It's been half an hour.
He's backed up in the corner, but he's throwing.
Right.
Down the wall.
But like from here all the way down is like a football field. But then you got another guy down here who was working back. I could just see myself getting in like a Chinese finger trap in the middle of this thing where if I turn around, I got one guy casting at me. If I turn the other way, I got another guy casting at me.
Yeah, that's a tough spot.
So I'm like, watch, I ask him. And I'm like befuddled. Look, I'm like, I don't know what to do. I have no clue what to do. I'm like sitting there. I'm trying to analyze the situation. I'm like, I have no fish. But this is where it gets interesting. So I pick up a jerkbait that I had not caught a fish on the entire practice. I had 0 jerkbait bites in practice, Brad. And this is 10 seconds. See, I'm still like looking at that guy in the corner. This is 20 seconds. I spin back around. And I'm not looking at my forward-facing sonar or anything. And I'm just like, I'm sitting here trying to figure out what to do because I've already been down this bank once and one grabs it. What are you laughing at?
Just the, turn around and catch one.
Or it gets better. I didn't think he'd keep. He turned out to be a 15.5-incher. Turned out to be a 15.5-incher, so he actually kept. So then the very next cast, I put him in the box, make another cast, load up on another one. And they did this all week. They jumped like that. See?
Yep.
So anyway, I land that one. It's a good one.
Take him.
That is a good one.
2.5, 2 3/4 pounder. And now I've got 2. So my co-angler catches one, and I catch one more on a jerk bait. Or no, my co-angler catches one. So now he's got 2. I've got 1, and I don't know why, but I picked up a rock crawler, and I'd been kind of up and down this, and now the wall's got 3 boats on it, so that's all out of the question. So now I'm like bogarting this little 50-yard stretch that I had. Where I'd caught my fish was like way down here where this tree is down here, like not even on the dam. So now it's an hour and a half in. I'm like committed to a 50-yard stretch of rock after driving 14 hours to one of the best smallmouth lakes in Tennessee. I'm now fishing in the dam a quarter mile away from takeoff on a stretch I've never fished before with a bait I hadn't caught a fish on in practice. That sounds like a winning pattern. But I had a rock crawler tied on. I'd gotten a couple bites in practice, so I pick up the rock crawler, and I just get one of these real mushy bites. Like, watch this. Like,
yeah.
This is the worst. Like, he's on there. I didn't even know it was a fish.
He kind of loads.
I'm like, yep.
Got him?
Did you hear what I said?
Little.
I said he's little.
Got him?
He's little. He's a little bitty guy.
I said he's a little bitty guy.
I don't know, bro.
He was not a little bitty guy.
No, he was not.
Number 4.
That was your fourth keeper?
And
Yep.
we'll tell you when you get down. So look up.
Yeah, that's nice.
That was a good one. And then I ended up catching one more way up lake on a plug the first day, and literally that was it.
That was your five keepers for the day?
Yeah, that was my day, Brad.
Well, that point that you pointed at, you said your fish was there or something.
Yeah, I never got a bite there. That's the only place on the dam that I got bit in practice.
Well, it's not technically where that shell rock is.
Yeah.
Down there.
Yeah.
And then every little place all the way up through there.
Yeah, I ran all that stuff. I never got a bite on it. I ran it for 3 hours on day 1. I never got a bite.
I caught them off of it day 2.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
How many?
I don't know. I had a giant follow my spinnerbait.
I don't like where I paused that one. I got the double chin going.
The double chin. I even fished that wall. And right where you're fishing, I fished it coming in on the last day.
That's
I never caught anything there, but
so that was my
looking at the same thing.
Yeah.
That's the problem with this lake is that we're all rotating these same places.
But that was my day one. I mean, I manufactured 14.5. Can you see that after what you just witnessed?
That's pretty good.
And so then I go into day two and I'm boat 170. So I decide to start on the wall because there was no one in the corner. That's Brandon Polinick right there.
Okay.
And I mentioned this on the show the other day. And
I was like boat 170.
I don't think
I literally just started on that corner and came down here. I was trying to figure out how the hell I was going to catch a bass today.
Did you ever throw a swim bait or a jerk on the wall?
That's what I'm throwing is a little swim bait.
Okay.
And I caught one on a jerk bait there the day before, my one that I called.
Then I'm going to work.
So anyway, I'm talking with Brandon now. No, he's doing the same thing, but he gets there and it was actually kind of cool. So I have my GoPro set on 5-minute loop. I don't know why I didn't mean to have it set. I also had it set on 1440 square. It's good times trying to edit that. But he's right there. So he's like a cast length. And right there, he says, "Hey, man, I don't feel comfortable here." And I said, "Why?" I said, you fish wherever, dude. You're good." He said, "No." He said, "You're trying to make the Elite Series." He said, "And I don't want to catch one that might hurt you. And I only had 13, 15 yesterday. What'd you have?" He goes, "You need the points." He goes, "It's yours." And as he said that, I cast like back towards it, and I had a 3 3/4 pounder eat my swim bait. And that was the only fish that I caught there. And it was right in front of Brandon. It was like 30 seconds after this happened. It just happened to be 5 minutes and 30 seconds after I hit the 5-minute loop button. But I put that in there just to show, kind of what it was like. So then I had one, and I caught a 14 7/8 inch spotted bass that I touched 15 when I put it in there. And technically, the state laws are 12 inches. I'm not sure why they just decided, hey, no, they're biting this week. We'll make it 15. It was 12 the last time you were there. I don't really understand that. You would think you would want as many fish to be weighed in for the fishery as you can, wouldn't you?
Especially tough as it is.
Yeah, that made zero sense. I'm not upset about it. I just thought it was weird that that bass just arbitrarily decided on a lake that is a 12-inch spotted bass limit, let's just make it 15. I don't really get that. Side story. But I caught a 14 7/8 that weighed like 220 something. Could not get it to go. So I ended up, 2 hours later throwing it back. I measured it. I got it to go 15. Said my co-angler, yeah, it's 15, but it was really fat. It was really tense. And then when I measured it again, I could barely, it was one of those, and I didn't want to risk it with the points. I knew it would be 25 or 30 points. So before I brought it in, I just chucked it. And I ended up weighing in 4. But I did this till like 10 or 11, and then I ended up getting down, and this was the call of my tournament. I'm running down the lake, or up the lake, actually. I was going to go up by the bridge just because it had been 2 hours since I'd had a bite. It's like 10:30 in the morning. And I run past a little channel swing bank. Hadn't caught him on channel swings, hadn't caught him in this part of the lake, had never fished it. And I just said, that looks good. And I did a spin back around, and I stopped. Well, over here, there's a laydown coming into the water, and there's like a brush pile out here on top of the laydown. And I'm looking at my forward-facing sonar, and there's like 4 dots in it, like big dots. I thought they looked like crappie to me, like big giant crappie, right? But I stayed back, and I was like, I'll pitch it. And like I said, I've never fished here. I don't know what's here. And you can tell when this fish bites, I think it's the tree. Watch how I just let it load up without setting the hook. See, it's got it. Mm-hmm. And then I'm like, oh, that's a bass. And it was a big one. It was a big one.
Small man?
Oh, yeah. Did a good job. Got the boat away from it.
Big one. I see that. There we go. Woo. There's 2 big ones. Woo.
Wow.
All I mean, that's a good one for that week. So now I've got 2 giants, and it's like 10:30. So I'm like rolling, right?
Yeah.
So then, this is 5 yards down the bank from the brush pile. I fished the brush pile around, fish it, couldn't get anything. This is 5 yards down the bank. I've made maybe 10 casts since I caught the last biggin. And I'm looking, I'm trying to figure out what's going on, and it just slacklines me. And it's another biggin.
That's a good stretch. I fished that stretch.
You did?
Yeah. Couple times. I never caught one off of it.
Did you see the fish in the tree of the laydown?
Yes, sir.
Now let's see.
Yes.
And I've seen guys like that would have sat on that spot for hours. And then
Yes.
Man, 2 more like that, you've been high cotton.
I went the next 6 hours, Brad, and I never had a bite. Never had a bite. And then went back to the wall with half an hour left, cast up. It was sinking, a 15 1/4 incher ate it that weighed maybe £1.10 max. You know, I had 3 for 10 and weighed in, 4 for 11.8, 11.9, something like that. 11.9.
And you fished that same way the rest of the day. You
the
kept
exact same way. I fished
down,
5 or 6 different bluff walls, kept that in my hand.
Wow.
Throw the little swimmer around, kept it on the bottom, varied depths with it, mouths of creek, secondary stuff, different types of rock, and never had a bite. Not even a tick, nothing. Just.
You're just unlucky.
You think?
Had to have been. I mean, you were lucky with the size of what you caught. I mean, I look at how many fish I caught over the course of 2 days, and just to not ever catch a big one was unreal. But like you said, there's a lot of 3 1/4s in there. But I sure didn't catch very many of them. I caught the 2 1/2s and 2 3/4s.
Yep. Well,
and you were throwing the smaller swim bait too, weren't you?
Yeah. I was throwing everything I thought to get bites. Let's take a break for the show, and then we'll come back. We'll wrap up Cherokee Lake. I want you to kind of analyze maybe some of the things you saw that I did. Maybe I can analyze some of the things that you did. We'll wrap it up. We'll talk about the James River that we're both headed to next week, and then we'll get back to business. This is Bass Talk Live on a Friday.
Bigger and better. The Lowrance Ultimate Fishing System upgrade now offers more. A new $200 rebate on active target live sonar and bigger savings with up to $1,200 cash back. Pick fish finding tools to fit the way you fish. From high-performance sonar and ultra-quiet ghost trolling motor to navigation and networking tools that bring it all together. Find more, see more, catch more.
The new Puma STS has been redesigned from the ground up. With the angler, design, function, and performance in mind, nothing on this new offering was compromised, and the only thing carried over from the previous version is the name. Based on the Soft Touch series hull that started with the flagship Jaguar, this new model is nimble and performs incredibly well at all speeds with either a 250 or 300 horsepower engine. Featuring a new 96-inch wide-body footprint, this hull measures out at 20 foot 7 inches in length. Industry-leading design coupled with tournament-winning performance. The Puma STS from Basscat. Feel the rush.
I've made my living on the water for over 20 years.
For 14 years.
For over 23 years.
I've worn a bunch of different clothing brands over the years.
Some companies big and some companies small.
All of them said they were making clothing for us. But none of them knew us.
None of them were us. Except for one.
Except for one.
Except one.
AFCO.
AFCO.
AFCO. AFCO. Fishing isn't part of us. It is us.
The KVD 100 jerkbait. 15 different colors. A perfect combination of roll, wiggle, and flash. Increased castability. 3D eyes. Premium black nickel hooks. KVD. tie one on. Striking Lures.
Are you looking to install your own fishing electronics? Well, the Bass Tank is here to help you. The solution is the Bass Tank Power Harness. It takes the guesswork out of installation. No more voltage issues or interference. Designed by an engineer so that you can get professional results right there in your own garage. Installation done right with the help of the Bass Tank Power Harness. You can feel confident knowing that your installation was done right. The Bass Tank Power Harness. Give us a call or order yours today at thebasstank.com.
The new Android series is the peak of the Denali lineup and offers the ultimate Denali experience. The Android series features 36-ton multi-directional graphite combined with interlock blank technology for added strength. Each rod is outfitted with Royal titanium guides that will not fail. The blank is fitted into an easy-touch, soft-feel EVA foam grip with exposed blank reel seat. This all allows the Android to transmit every movement of your bait and even the most subtle bites. The Android series is the finest rod Denali has ever made and offers an angler the ultimate fishing experience with a limited lifetime warranty. See the full lineup of Android rods at denalirods.com.
Elite Series Pro Daryl Gleason here. My Pro Guide batteries keep me going on those long tournament days and long practice days. Always plenty of juice, never fail. The best part about Pro Guide batteries, it's the people behind the company. They have over 40 years experience in the battery business, keeping all of us fishermen out on the water longer, catching more fish. Check them out at ProGuideBatteries.com.
What's up, Bass Talk Live fans? Brandon Polnick here. And ever since I won a couple Bassmaster Elite Series events on X-Zone Lures, I've been getting a bunch of questions of what makes them so special and different. And really, the truth is, it's in the details. The little details, things like no cheap fillers in their plastic. That gives you more lifelike action, more realistic and vibrant colors. But don't just take my word for it. Go to www.xzonelures.com and check them out for yourself.
Vibrating jigs are a great choice for any time of year, and the Kamikaze Swim-On is a perfect match for any vibrating jig. Two sizes and the unique tail design gives it a bait fish profile and a great swimming action for realism. There are 17 colors. See them all at bigbitebaits.com.
The Spro Little John crankbait has been around for almost 15 years, and it is one of my go-to crankbaits whenever I need a fish in the boat, so you can never have enough new colors. That's why Spro's coming out with a handful of new colors, including Pearl Shad, which has this bleached out white look, but it's got this pearlescent, really, really pretty. We've got Copper Shad, which looks amazing in the water. It's got that purple flake on the back, really, really pops in the water. And then if you want some real pop, we've got Sparkle Shad, nothing but sparkles all over this thing. And then last but not least, we've got the matte Sexy Shad, just a really different looking color for a crankbait. So you want to give them a little different look. That matte Sexy Shad is definitely the one to go with. All these colors are available in the original Little John and the MD.
Combining one of the most popular hook styles with Gamakatsu's beefier Superline offering, the Gamakatsu Superline Offset Round Bend delivers the strength necessary to target big fish in heavy cover. Well suited for braided line and heavier fluorocarbon, the Gamakatsu Superline Offset Round Bend is built using stronger Superline wire that allows anglers to easily fish a finesse worm around heavy cover. The round bend offers a larger bite area, perfect for any worm presentation, while increasing your hookup ratios. The newly enhanced Z-Bend holds your plastics on the hook longer, reducing the number of pull-offs and reducing damage to plastics. Available in 2/0, 3/0, 4/0, and 5/0, this is the most durable worm hook, designed for heavier lines that hold your bait on longer.
Preparation is key to success. And that preparation starts well before you ever hit the water. You're only as strong as your connection to the fish, and your line is that critical connection. Confidence in your line every minute of every day on the water is a necessity, and failure, it's not an option. Sunline makes the fluorocarbon, nylon, and braided lines to give you the strength to guarantee your confidence.
Welcome back to BTL Special Friday edition with Brad Hallman breaking down the second Bassmaster Open of the season on Cherokee Lake. Saw a little bit of game film from Brad on the water, catching some smallmouth. Some game film from me catching some smallmouth, not enough smallmouth. And I want to kind of wrap it up and analyze, kind of get your final thoughts on Cherokee, your performance, anything you thought that maybe I could have done differently, better, things that I did do well, and then I'll do vice versa, and then we will look ahead to the first Northern Open of the 2022 season that is coming up this upcoming week on the James River. Brad, what are your final thoughts on Cherokee?
Well, first I was watching commercials as they ran, and that Little John Sparkle Shad, I'm pretty sure I've had a couple of bass boats that were the exact same color. That thing should have been named Bass Boat or something. It's like identical to some of the stuff we ran back in the 90s. Oh, man. Can you still have access to the video that you were just running? Yeah. Can you pull it back up? I want to go back to your last fish that you caught, because, dude, you did a lot of things that I didn't see any problems with. Like, you were doing the same thing, running the same areas that everybody else was. I'm shocked that you didn't get more bites on the last day. But I did notice one thing that I would critique, and you can see it on that video. It was the very last fish you caught. And start from the beginning where you make the cast. I felt like your boat speed is too fast. You know, these fish were slow, and I realize you're bait, but you're just covering so much water so fast.
I am moving fast, aren't I?
You are.
Huh. I never even noticed. Yeah, look at I'm freaking peeling down those rocks.
Yeah. For 52-degree water, you're moving. Especially on tournament day. Practice, okay, yeah, but that's just something that jumped out at me when we were watching. I was like, man, he was cruising. And so as the pressure builds, you know, the rest of the day, you may have been going faster and faster than not realizing.
Look at how fast I'm reeling, too. Now, I know I'm going towards the boat, but that is not how fast you should be reeling. That's way too fast.
I agree.
Way too fast. Because look at how slow I'm reeling on that first one. See?
Mm-hmm.
As opposed to that. Now, granted, I caught it, but that was the only one I caught.
And like say your boat is moving towards the base, you're going to have to reel a little bit faster. But I just think that, you know, if you'd have been moving a little slower, you might have caught another fish or two on that stretch.
I just needed one more fish. That was it. I was after looking at your footage, I was really disappointed that I let what I thought were bad conditions affected how I fished some of those areas. The areas where you said you caught them on day 2, where the water temp had changed and had not gotten warmer. I'd have never known that.
I've done that before in other areas, you know, different lakes, Matt, where I know there's a productive area of fish. And then I go in there, and for whatever reason, the conditions have changed, and I don't get bit right off the bat, or I don't get bit with the same bait that I got bit in practice, and so therefore I leave. And that's a lot of what we talk about keeping an open mind. There were a lot of active fish. I mean, I fished a lot of places, and that little cut had some fish in it. I mean, there's no doubt.
I'm guessing you didn't go in there on Tuesday.
I did. I ran it on Tuesday. Yeah, I did.
Did you not think it looked drastically different?
It was. It was much cleaner. Much cleaner, but the wind was just blowing right in it that day, and they were feeding. Yeah. There was another gentleman on the other side when I started in there, and I don't know if he caught any or not, but he worked up and down that stretch for a while, and then he got out on the point and went on around, and by the time I got around there, he was gone, and then I caught a couple over there. And then I came back to the other side and caught another one and had a couple more bites there, but anyway.
On the swimmer?
Yeah, all on the swimmer.
Did you do it on, did you catch him on day 2? Dude,
why didn't I pick up a crankbait and crank it too? And I never did, and I should have. I mean, I might have picked up another fish or two if I'd have cranked it.
See, in practice, the only bites that I had were all big ones on crankbait. You know, 4.5-pound largemouth, big smallmouth, had a 4-pound smallmouth. Did you crank it on day 2?
No.
Or not crank it? Did you even fish it on day 2?
Yes, I did fish it on day 2. I didn't get any bites out of there on day 2, but I didn't have it wasn't windy and stuff in there like it was. It was a lot calmer. Of course, it was calmer everywhere, but I did not get bit. What I found weird about that pocket too is like right where you saw me, you're like, I got bit down that stretch. Did you get bit further out? Because there was some really good looking stuff.
Yeah, the rock came. No, we got bit up. He got bit up shallow, but it was that rock came way out.
No, I mean further back out the coast. So like behind my boat.
Yeah, there was another rock point.
Shelf.
Yeah. The first shelf, no, I didn't get bit on any of that. That's where he caught the carp off the first shelf. The main big point that came way out. We were way offshore in practice. You knew where I was. I FaceTimed you. That's where I FaceTimed you.
Okay.
That was exactly where I FaceTimed you, was way out at the end of that with the carp. But by the time we had gotten to the carp, he had towed the boat 20 yards more towards the dock.
Okay.
Yeah. Here's something that I kind of took away from this tournament. With obviously there being a bite, we had a house. Andrew's won there before in April, this exact week there in the tour event. You guys have fished there multiple times before. It's kind of my jam, smallmouth, finesse fishing, that type of thing. Billy was getting a few bites, but we were all pretty much in the same boat. And I think that possibly the fact that all of us and even the people we were talking to and stuff, it maybe led to some complacency, because let's say you were in a cocoon or you happen to be rooming with like Cooper Gallant or one of the guys who was catching these 20, 30 fish in practice and could get bit really easy. You're going, man, I need to keep push. I was out there and was going, oh, here comes another day with not very many bites, knowing that this was a lake that historically has a lot of fish on it where they catch a ton. And, I'm talking to you during the day, talking to Andrew during the day. And it's just like, well, yeah, they're just, they're not biting. There's not a bite to be had. You're just going to catch one here, and we hope they're going to turn on. And I think in some sort of way that maybe kind of led to some complacency to say, hey, they're not biting. Whereas, if one of us had been smashing them, I think it would have totally changed the way the rest of us practiced for that event too. Going, oh, what do you mean you're getting 20 or 30 bites a day? Like, I felt like I just kind of was.
There was a lot of guys that are in the top 10 that caught them fishing the same stretches that we were fishing.
Yeah.
A couple of them, I think, were throwing spinner baits primarily, but they still were fishing them the same way, really slow, going down those stretches. That gray rock, river channels and bends mattered. I got too hung up on the flats. I caught a couple of good fish in practice on the really flat stuff, and it wasn't until after the end of the first day that I was like, that stuff's dead. They're not here. It's not working. I don't know why it worked for me, but it was like those, when I was really struggling in practice, I hit 2 or 3 flats that I caught fish on, and it really messed me up because then I spent time doing it. Now, the first morning of the tournament, I didn't do that. I just went over to the other side of the lake. The wind was on, and I just bounced all the way up the lake. And so it forced me to fish a bunch of different kinds of things. And that's where I kind of learned, that they really did kind of prefer that steeper bank style and that gray rock over that red rock and the flatter stuff. But they still caught them the same way that we were fishing. Now, was it one that way? No. But there was definitely top 10s. There was 17 and 18 pound bags caught fishing the same style of water that we were fishing. They just used different baits. A couple of the guys were using bigger swim baits. I know Andrew used a big swim bait, and he didn't have a big bag, but he caught a lot of fish that way. I think it was just timing and rotating enough of them. I had another flat that I did catch some fish in the tournament, and I fished it both days. But maybe that's why I never really caught the size. Even that place that was deep, that's a flat water area. And maybe that's why I wasn't catching the 3 3/4 and 4 pounders. Now, I did fish some steeper stuff, but I would say that half of my day was on flatter stuff and half of my day was on more vertical stuff. And if I had it to do over with again, I would have just stayed vertical.
Mm-hmm. So there were 230 guys that have fished the first 2 Southern Opens now. And you are in 37th place in the Angler of the Year. So you're out of it in the Southerns. But not out of it in the overall, definitely. And then I am in 39th place. You have 5 points on me after the first 2.
Isn't that amazing?
And it's weird. Yeah. And Willard's in the middle of us. He has 288.
Really?
Yeah. But not where I want to be in the Southern. Obviously, you want to go into Hartwell with a chance to make the Elite Series through the Southerns, but considering how difficult the bite was for me going into these, are out of all the opens I've ever fished, these are probably outside of Louisville, which I don't consider a lake that has bass in it. I think it should just be recreation. I don't think fishing should be allowed on that lake. But that's just me being hateful. It's a great lake. Hire James Biggs. He'll take you out. You'll catch 35 pounds. He catches tons of big giants out there. I despise that place. Like I said, every time I go over the I-35 bridge, I give it the middle finger underneath the dashboard. It is. I've had a hateful relationship with that thing since college. It's a 20-year
It's got big ones in it. You know, it's kind of like Thunderbird, where it's got not very many fish, but the ones that live there are grown.
Yeah. I'm sure it's great. It's just every time I've been on it, there's been 200 boats on it, and it's been a transition time of the year.
I get it.
I'm sure it is fantastic during the right time of the year without a lot of pressure.
Yeah.
But anyway, 37th and 39th, heading into the James River. We're not in bad shape, man. We're not in bad shape.
We're not where we want to be. Man, we need some top 10s, dude. I mean, it's just the bottom line. We need some top 10s.
Right. But here's what we haven't done. We haven't put ourselves in a position yet to where a top 10 gets us back to where we need to be. A top 10 would get us a little bit ahead of pace now.
Yeah, probably so.
So this is probably the busiest month that I've ever had in my career ever.
Dude, it's been hectic, hasn't it? I mean, hectic. I'm sitting here looking at my schedule, and I'm trying to get video out for. I'd love to get on my YouTube channel this tournament right here, and I've been working on it, trying to get ready for the next event because I've got a bunch of research that I needed to do this week for the James.
Yeah, same here.
And just everything, trying to get it all ready. And then I started looking at Ross Barnett, dude. And we don't even have a place to stay at Ross Barnett. Somebody's got a house they want to rent us. Hit us up. We need it. And there's nowhere to stay there. The biggest problem is parking. Like, there's a couple of houses, but everything's like in, suburbia, and it's built for 2 compact cars in the driveway. And our diesel pickups and 20-foot bass boats are not going to fit.
We need 3 boats, 3 trucks for a week.
Yeah. Yeah. Now that's and Sukkot may need to stay with us. I don't know. It may be 4, but we may end up having to split up and go 2 and 2 on this deal.
He's not going to stay in Jared Miller's truck camper.
I don't know.
those two in.
Sukkot's huge, dude. That guy's like 6'6". He's a big
Last
boy.
time I went to Ross Barnett, it was my first Open ever in 2015. I weighed in like I think 10 pounds in 2 days. And I'm looking at the standings, on my phone afterwards. And I was one of the last guys to weigh in on day 2. And I thought, well, this was early back in the Opens, first Open ever. I said, well, at least I beat Rick Clunn. and I idle back over, it was super windy, and I idle back over to the campground. This is what made me think of that story, that campground that's right across from the takeoff. And there is Rick Clunn, power pole down, tossing back back a limit of fish that he didn't weigh in.
Yeah.
I said, damn, well, I didn't beat Rick Clunn. He just decided that his limit wasn't worth weighing in.
Yeah.
And I felt very small for the next couple of months after that.
I get it. I've never been there, man, and just looking for houses a minute ago, I pulled it up, and there's just a big body of water at the bottom, and the top looks real fishy. So I'm sure there's a lot going on there.
You've never been there?
Never been there,
dude. You'll top 10 that place. It's built for Bradley Hallman.
So is the James River.
It's kind of grimy, kind of gritty.
We need a couple of good derbies, dude, so we can have a
couple good derbies on the James. Brad, I thank you for taking time, carving out time to look at a little game footage from the second Open on Cherokee Lake. Like I said, this is going to kind of drop as a little surprise. A Friday, I was trying to figure out how to fit it in, and we're fitting it in. Instead of next week, we're going to drop it on Friday morning. So, all right, that's all we got. We're out of here. See ya.